Hey Internet, it's part 2 of my Knights of the Frozen Throne card review. This time we're getting into the class cards with the first one being Druid. So the first new card for Druid to come out is the Crypt Core Taunt. After you summon a minion, gain +1 health. Now I always like cards like this over cards like the old Paladin Legendary that gains 1 extra attack every time it's in your hand and you play something on the board. Cards like this are preferable because it allows you to power this up all game after you've already played it, which means that you don't have to save all your combo pieces. You don't have to get Emperor Thuracine or some other manner of getting your cards. It costs less in order to be for this card to be really good. Now, the thing I want to note here is that this is an obvious case of amazing amount of power creep. Where back in the original Hearthstone, this 3 mana taunt minion was a 1/4, and now it's not only starts as a 1/6, it also gains 1 extra health every time you summon a new minion, which means that this is power creep in one of its most blatant forms. As for the card itself, if you're playing any sort of card like this, then it doesn't actually matter that it has 1 attack. You don't play a 3 mana 6 health taunt for the attack. You play it in order to stall long enough for you to get the AoE or the minions out there necessary in order to prevent your opponent from rushing you down, and then you can turn the game around and win. Obviously, it's going to be used in control decks. It may potentially be used in some hand buff decks, but if you're going to do that, there's simply better 3 mana options that you'd want to play. So this will probably only see play in control if it sees any play at all, because Druid has gotten a lot of good cards this expansion. So there may be a lot of better options that you can play instead. So the next 3 mana card they have is Nash. Give your hero +3 attack this turn, gain 3 armor. Now this is obviously just another version of the Claw, where you give your hero +2 attack and gain 2 armor. There's not much more to be said about it. It's not an OP card. It's not an underpowered card. Will it see a lot of play? Probably not, especially with the new hero powers that you end up getting. But yeah, it's a card, I guess. So, next card, 5 mana, Web Weave. Summon 2/1/2 Poisonous Spiders. I do not particularly like this because these do not have stealth, they do not have taunt, I would assume they're beasts, meaning that you can buff them up as beasts. But beyond that, if you're gonna want 2/1/2 poisonous spiders, presumably you want to take out some big minions that your opponent has, or you want to set up for taking out big minions that your opponent has, because Druid has a lot of difficulty with doing that, and there are simply better ways to do that. For example, just 1/1/2 poisonous spider is enough. If you just want to play the 2 mana poison snail with taunt, that serves the same effect. So why would you play a 5 mana card to get 2 of those? Because the thing about big minions is that your opponent probably isn't going to have more than one. It costs a lot of mana. It's like, for example, this. You're going to spend your entire turn playing this. With that being the case, why would you need 2 of these? You wouldn't. If you play 2, they just die to AoE. So this does not seem like a good card to me at all. Maybe if they had charge or something, I don't know. There's a lot of ways to make this card playable, but I haven't seen it played in Constructed or Arena. It's the first time I'm actually seeing this card. That's how unused it is. So I can't imagine people will really come up with any decks that overly make use of it, because there's simply better ways to get rid of minions. Next card, 2 mana, Druid of the Storm. Choose one. Transform into a 1/2 with Poisonous, so it's like this card except a lot more playable, or a 1/5 with Taunt, so it's like this card a lot more except a lot more playable, because you also have the option to gain a card that's strictly better than this one, because you don't want to spend 5 mana on 1/2s with Poisonous. You want to spend 2 mana on 1/2s with Poisonous. Or if you don't need Poisonous, you want to spend 2 mana on a 1/5 with Taunt. But to spend 5 mana on it just seems like a waste. So this I can see getting played. This I cannot really see getting played. Strong Shell Scavenger. Battlecry. Give your taunt minions +2/+2. By itself, this does not seem like an overly good card, because why would a Druid be playing a lot of small cost taunt minions? Well, Spreading Plague is exactly why. This card is deceptively good even without the buff. What happens is that if you can't kill your opponent's big minions, you can stall the game out long enough for you to get what you need to win the game. Sorry, I was just checking to make sure I was recording, so I'm not wasting my time here. So if you're playing Spreading Plague, you summon 1/5 Scarab with Taunt, if your opponent has more minions, cast this again. So essentially, you get a taunt wall that your opponent has to spend each of their minions' attack turn to kill, unless they have Wind Fury, which they probably don't because nobody really plays any Wind Fury minions or Wind Fury buffs. The only way they really get Wind Fury is by sheer luck, where they summon a random minion. Beyond that, each of these is going to require at least one attack to kill. Now, if you happen to be able to buff these up with strong Shell Scavenger or any other of the myriad of Druid buffs that they still have AoE Druid buffs, and they also have a lot of single target Druid buffs. With that being the case, if you play this, all of a sudden you've not only a strong taunt wall, you've got a lot of pressure on the board, because if your opponents don't kill these quickly and you manage to buff them up, well, now you can completely turn a game around where maybe you were getting sworn, or maybe your opponent had a lot of strong minions on board, and instead of them having around strong minions on board, you have a lot of strong minions. And if you happen to play this with where's the card that buffs them up? There's some sort of Bone Mare. Even this, you play Bone Mare next turn with one of these cards. Now you have what, a 5/9 with taunt? That's really good. And you've got a bunch more of these. And you got a 5/5 on board. So this is a deceptively good card. You do have to make sure to play around it, but if you do play around it, you can also avoid a lot of issues. So the next card is Fate Spinner. I really like this. This is a good secret. I've never seen good secrets in Hearthstone, because a lot of it is you randomly draw one, or you try to control which secrets you draw, and then your opponent has to just run through the list in a manner where the secret isn't really secret. It's not really a trap. It's not really a magic card. It's just a thing that gets in the way. With Fate Spinner, you have to make a lot more decision making when you play it, and your opponent has to make a lot more decision making when they kill it, because they do not know what its secret effect is. I really wonder how this is affected by secret cards. Like, for example, if you destroy your opponent's secrets, does it also destroy this secret or not? I don't know if that ever affects minions. Personally, I think it should, because it needs some sort of counterplay beyond just silencing it. But choose a Death Rattle. Secretly deal 3 damage to all minions, or give them +2/+2. So obviously you can bluff your opponent by playing this as your only card. Say your opponent has a bunch of 3 health or less minions. So they've got 4 3 health or less minions. I'm going to play this as a last ditch attempt to get some AoE to kill all of his minions with. So he's thinking, oh, I can't possibly kill the Fate Spinner because it'll kill all my minions, so I've got to go face. But in reality, you didn't play the deal 3 damage to all minions. You played the give them +2/+2. So now say next turn you play Spreading Plague. Again, there are a lot of ways to buff these cards up. And this actually didn't have the deal 3 damage AoE. It had give your minions +2/+2. So you sack this into your opponent's minions. You got the Spreading Plague. And now you've got a bunch of 3/7s on board to deal with your opponent's newer minions, which also get +2/+2, but you killed one of them with these, so that gives you board advantage with stronger minions with taunt that your opponent cannot get past. And now, because they wrongly assumed what secret it was, you are now in a position of advantage. It's a really well designed card. The 3 health makes it easy to kill, but again, do you want to kill it? That's the trap. It's a trap in itself, where you don't necessarily want to take advantage of this 3 health. So the next card, Ultimate Infestation. I hate this card so much. It's in every good Druid deck, which means that if you want to win with Druid, you play this card. What does it actually do? 10 mana, deal 5 damage. That's already decent. Deal 5 damage is already a 4 or 5 mana card. Draw 5 cards. Now, Sprint is a 7 mana card. It draws 4 cards. So draw 5 cards. Let's call that a 9 mana card. Right now, we're up to around 14 mana on this card. Gain 5 armor. That's a 1 mana card. So now we're up to 15 mana on this card. Summon a 5/5 Ghoul. That's a 5 mana card. So now we're up to a 20 mana card. Alright? You following along here? 20 mana card where you gain 5 life, you deal 5 damage, you probably kill a minion with it. You draw 5 cards so that you can reload in a swarm of the board after you've gained board control. And you also gain board control with it because you summon a 5/5 Ghoul, all for 10 mana, which is actually a 20 mana card. Meaning this card is broken, and what I would like to see, I don't think it can be balanced, except in the following manner. You make this a common card for all classes. There are no common spells in this game. And sorry, not common, neutral. There are no neutral spells in this game. So if you were to do that, you make this the first neutral card ever. Give Druid a new class card. And make it so that every card, every class has access to the same broken card, and therefore some classes will make more use of it than others. For example, what is it? Warrior makes extra use of the 5 armor. Some classes make extra use of the draw 5 cards. Some classes make extra use of the 5 damage. Some classes make extra use of the 5/5 ghoul. But if you make this a neutral card instead of a druid only card, you instantly balance out the game a lot more. But as to why druid would need this powerful of a card given how much versatility it already has, I have no idea. Blizzard lost their mind when making this card. Again, it's a 20 mana card. It's a 20 mana card, costs 10 mana, and there's nothing special you have to do to play it. For example, the 25 mana Molten Giant, you have to do special things in order to get that out on board. This has no other activators. It's just play it. So either make it, balance it out by making it, say, 13 mana, and you can only play it if you've played 3 specific cards first, and then it costs 10 mana and you can actually play it, or just make it a neutral card. That's the way I would balance that myself personally. Next card, 7 mana. The new hero power is the first new hero that we're going to look at. By the way, Blizzard, hero cards are not new. Draxus has been in this game since beta. I think maybe since alpha, actually. So I don't know why you're so excited about that. It's not the first time you've done that at all. You're liars. Anyway, let's get back to Malfurion the Pestilent. His Death Lord state, Death Knight state. Choose one. Summon two poisonous spiders, which we've already discussed before. They're right here. They are beasts. Look at that. Okay. Or 2 scarabs with taunt. And the scarabs are here. These are the scarab beetles with taunt. So basically, this is a playable version of Webweave. If you want Webweave in your deck, what you want to do is get rid of it from your deck and get Malfurion the Pestilent, because this also gives you a new hero power, Plague Lord. Choose one. +3 attack this turn or gain 3 armor. Now, I have mixed feelings about this because A is just a switch on the original hero power. It's not really anything new. Things like the new Jaina card or the Draxus himself, it gives you an entirely new hero power. This is just a buff up to the Druid hero power, which I don't particularly like. It doesn't. All the other classes got much better versions of this, but in any case, given that you get this at 7 mana, that makes it one of the earliest power plays you can make with Death Knights. I think this might actually be the cheapest one out. I haven't seen all of them. I don't know how much they all cost, but normally they cost 9 or 10. So given that you can play this on turn 7, it's pretty good because you also developed the board as you played, and you got new buffs with this deck that you can play in combination with this. So if you have this card, I recommend running it in every Druid deck along with this, and it will really help you win the game. Now then, the 9 mana legendary minion, Hadronox. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Who cares? Death Rattle. Summon your taunt minions that died this game. Wow, I didn't even realize this synergy existed. So that all of a sudden makes these cards even better. Because, oh no, not really, not necessarily, because this is a 9 mana, 7 health minion that has to die first in order for you to get this effect. Which means that you may never get this effect. And because it only does 3 damage, it's not really going to help you win the game that much. I don't see this as being a good card, because if you're going to play a 9 mana minion, well, there are a lot of better options. And if you really wanted to summon your taunt minions that died this game, well, sorry, I was going to say you can just play the Zotha, but that summons your Death Rattle minions. In any case, if you're going to play a 9 mana card, 9 mana minion, there are all sorts of 9 mana minions for previous expansions that are better than this. So personally, I would never play this. Plus, really even Cenarius is better than this card, because you get 2/2 taunts if you really want it, and you have the option of buffing up your minions if you wanted, and it has better stats than this. So if you want to play 9 mana legendary Druid card, just play Cenarius, it's better. And then these are all the cards that have already been talked about. So obviously if you get both choose one effects, you end up with the Druid of the Storm here. Now then, the choice cards, which are just going into these, I'm not going to go over them again. The next class we have is Hunter. Number 1, play dead. I like this card. You trigger a friendly minion's death rattle. I've actually never seen it used yet, but I haven't played much of this expansion. But the main problem with death rattle cards, like for example this one, is that your opponent can silence it before it goes off, or it may never go off at all because you've got to get the minion killed somehow. So this solves the main issue with death rattle, which is that if you trigger the death rattle, well, you lose your minion, and you may never have a trigger for the death rattle, which means you do not get its effect. This solves all of that. Now, the drawback is that you have to have an extra 1 mana card in your deck that may not really be helpful, because what death rattles do we have? We have this death rattle, we have Discover. See, they only added 1 extra death rattle for, okay, 2 extra death rattles for Hunter, and I just don't think there are that many good death rattle Hunter cards to make this worthwhile. The only one I can really think of that I'd really want to play this on is the Scavenging Highmane. Beyond that, I don't think having this card is worth it for your deck. But who knows, maybe somebody will come up with some clever deck. Next, the 3 mana Bear Shark. Can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. It's a beast, so you can still buff it up with the 4 mana Beastmaster, but a 3 mana 4/3 that can't be targeted is very mediocre. You don't really see those types of cards getting played unless they synergize. So, for example, the Fairy Dragon, since it's a dragon, it synergizes with your dragons, and you may see play because of that reason. This card, if it gets played, it will be played because it's a beast, not necessarily because of its effect. The 4 damage means that it can trade with basically anything that you may play on turn 3 that your opponent may play. And the 3 health that can't be hit with a spell means that it's is going to be difficult to remove, especially if you get this behind a taunt, in which case you can just keep going face. Instead of this, I would have done something along the lines of what Shadowverse does, where they make it so that a certain minion can only attack face or can only attack taunt minions, and then it can't be targeted unless it hits one of those minions. I think that would have made this card more interesting, but with the way it is, it's a very mediocre card. Stitched Tracker. 3 mana, 2/2. Battlecry. Discover a copy of a minion in your deck. These types of cards I really like. I hate discover cards in general that summon random cards that are in nobody's deck. I like designing a deck to where you not only have to really think about the way you design it, but then you also have to think about the way you can force certain card draws. I think Hearthstone needs more of these cards in order to reward good deck design in a manner that both allows you to do something like this where you develop the board so you're being active in the game, and you the effect you get is based on your planning. So if you play any of the discover cards up until this point, it generally doesn't matter what you've been planning on doing. You're just going to get a random card and hope it's good. This, you ensure that the card you get is useful because it's a card in your deck that hopefully synergizes with the cards you have. Next, 2 mana Venom Strike Trap. This is a secret. When one of your minions is attacked, summon a 2/3 Poisonous Cobra. Again, I don't understand why you would play this over the Snail. I guess maybe if you want to synergize with secret cards, but other than that, why would you choose this over a Snail? You wouldn't. Next card, Exploding Bloatbat. 4 mana, Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. It's a beast, so it does get beast buffs if you want it. But if you want to do 2 damage to all enemy minions, why not just play a 2 mana secret that does that when they hit your face? Because this card has to die first, and if you need a trigger for it, you may as well use a 2 mana card because getting a 2/1 body on board on turn 4 is not good. I think this might be one of the worst stats 4 mana cards in the game. And the effect it has, deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. If you really wanted that, you could just play the 4 mana Abominable guy, which has taunt and deals 2 damage to all minions. It also hits yours, but if you're playing a card like this and you need that AoE, you probably are fine with it doing 2 damage to all of your minions because you're probably not going to have any minions on board. So that being the case, don't play Exploding Bloodbat. Do play the Abominable guy. Or whatever his name is. Corpse Widow. 5 mana, Beast. 4/6, your Death Rattle cards cost 2 less. It does not say they can't cost less than 0, which means, with the way I read this, you should be able to spam Death Rattle cards if you really want to. So if you have a bunch of 2 mana or less Death Rattle cards, and you play this, you can just play a bunch of 0 mana cards as well. I don't know if that's how it actually works, but that's the way I read it. With that being the case, it makes it a very playable card because 4/6 is where you need to be to have playable cards. And then its effect is also pretty good. If this was a 2 mana, 2/1, deal 2 damage to all enemy minions, or a 3 mana, 2/1, deal 2 damage to all enemy minions, it would be a playable card. At 4 mana, it's not, unless you partnered with the Corpse Widow, I guess.